Ever since guns have been in a video game, there have always been good guns and bad guns. There's always been that mix of good guns that always seem to stand up above the rest and are truly called the meta. And so here today we're going to be talking about the meta throughout the years of Destiny, throughout all 3 years in Destiny, and we're just going to kind of recap it so that new players can have an idea of what happened throughout Destiny and maybe have an idea of what's going to happen in the future of Destiny for Destiny 2. Alright, so yeah, before I begin, I'm going to link the Reddit post that kind of characterize them in the description so you guys can kind of see it for yourself. And so yeah, here we go. Let's get into year 1. So the very first meta was kind of the auto rifle meta, very beginning in when Destiny was released. The first time people started to do raids, then they got Vex Mythoclast from the Vaults of Glass, they noticed that it was very overpowered. Now, to be fair, this was definitely very early in the game, and thus kind of Bungie didn't really know how good exotics should be, so it is kind of understandable, because both of these really good guns were exotics, Surus Regime as well as Vex Mythoclast. And so that actually kind of follows as well in kind of the rest of year 1. A bunch of really good exotics, because I guess they might have not really known how good to make exotics. So yeah, from after Surus Regime and Vex, it went on to Thorn and the Last Word, and that kind of ushered in the hand cannon meta. Now, this one hasn't really disappeared to this day. To this day, a lot of people still use hand cannons and do see them as regard as really, truly the best thing in the game. But we're going to get into more on that later. And so, like I said, Thorn and Last Word, that pretty much lasted all the way up until the beginning of year 2. And a good little mention is that Red Death and pretty much any 2-shot, headshot, pulse rifle is a very good counter to Thorn, but like I said, Thorn and Last Word really ruled year 1. So when we get into year 2, when all those kind of guns were really nerfed, but especially Thorn, it was kind of just dropped out, you really weren't able to use it. But things like Red Death and Last Word, which weren't as overpowered as Thorn, were kept in the game. And were still pretty good in the meta. However, pulse rifles that were slow or fast firing but low impact, like Hacksaw, were very good. That was kind of the meta. That kind of started in the pulse rifle meta for that archetype, and that again is still to this day pretty much. And so yeah, again, Red Death, Nerwin's Mercy, that were still very good. And yeah, that actually really lasted out through kind of the first half of year 2. Pulse rifles really did rule most of year 2, but it kind of varies from which time depending on the archetype. So the first half of year 2 was definitely kind of the slow firing Nerwin's Mercy archetype that was very good, very powerful, and definitely the meta at that point. But then when people start to get rolls on Hacksaw and kind of experience more of it from the ones in year 2 or the beginning of year 2, they really start to move that, and that kind of ushered in kind of, like I said, Hacksaw came back. The Grasp of Malik was very big one, and so yeah, they were very good, especially during the end of 2. And so these actually kind of went into year 3 as well. A lot of things that of the pulse rifles, especially with that Iron Banner one that got nerfed into the ground because it was so overpowered, definitely carried on from year 2. However, we're going to actually get into that a little bit later. So back to year 2, another thing that's kind of the second half of year 2, besides the meta of the pulse rifles, was Mida as well as Ias Luna. And Ias Luna is still definitely the biggest one today. It's probably one of the best hand cannons due to its kind of base stats. By the way, once people start to get really good rolls on that, they realized how good and powerful this gun was. And so yeah, to this day, this is still really good and viable weapon, especially in trials and low range map. And so finally, we got to year 3. In year 3, which we are in right now, Mida as well was still a very good choice. It was a good choice pretty much throughout the entire lifetime of Destiny. It was always a pretty good choice, and it was pretty good during year 2, a little bit better than what it was now. But like I said, very good choice in pretty much all situations. And that was the same for year 3. But Clever Dragon, like I said, year 3, it ruled the first half of it. It was nerfed into the ground after a while, which kind of diminished that fast firing, low damage meta, but again, you can still see remnants of it today with the gun I'm using, which is Blind Perdition. It isn't that super fast firing, but you can still see some remnants of that fast firing meta. And so yeah, that kind of finishes it off. I'm going to be doing a quick recap at the end where I kind of give everything. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And right now, Ias Luna is definitely, and those hand cannons are pretty much it. And so yeah, let's just do a quick recap of the whole year 1. So it started out with Vex Mythic class in the first half of year 1, and then the second half of year 1 it went to Thorn and Last Word, and then to counter those things people used Red Death as well as Messenger Pulse Rifles with those 2-shot bursts. Then it went into year 2 with this was the original Pulse Rifle meta, which could have Hacksaw as well as those Grasp of Malix kind of archetype. That was very, very good during the beginning of year 1. But also at that time, there were also very good ones like Nerwood's Mercy, which were very kind of slow firing, but at the same time, very, very good 2-shot weapons. They were very good until they were nerfed to have no longer 2-shot. But either way, up until the halfway point of year 2, people started to notice hand cannons were very, very good, and things like Ice Luna came to the mix, and then that is still remnants today. And then finally, we got onto year 3 with Clever Dragon, definitely the biggest one during the first half, which sadly got, well, never mind, not sadly, got nerfed to the ground. And yeah, kind of nobody really uses that anymore, but you can still see remnants of that kind of fast-firing auto pulse rifle in the Blind Perdition. And finally, we finish it off, kind of the last standing true meta is the Ice Luna. That is definitely kind of the last thing that we had, because that's probably the longest thing we've had. It's been from half of year 2, maybe from the beginning as well, to today, which is definitely about a year and a half. So that is it. That is all the metas that have occurred in Destiny. I'll try to do my best explaining them, because like I said, I wasn't that into Destiny kind of the beginning of year 2, but I am pretty much nothing in year 1, but I can give you a really good insight into year 2 and beyond. And so yeah, that is it. Thanks for watching, and tomorrow I will be doing a meta prediction for Destiny 2 based on these kind of things and what Bungie might do to try to balance it. And so yeah, that is it. Thank you for watching. Expect that video tomorrow, and I will see you next time.